Stampers, this is Dawn, and today we're going to make this beautiful Thanksgiving card, and I'm using the brand new Painted Harvest. Looks like this, and then also it has a punch called the leaf punch, and you can buy these in a bundle and save 10%. So we're going to be using a lot of images from this stamp set. We're not going to use the punch today, but the stamp set. But let me show you how the card opens up. So this is the front. It says gather together and give thanks, and then it opens up like this and it says I'm thankful for you. Isn't that beautiful? Now this card design, I got the idea from Devette Miller. Love her card. So I'm just going to recreate it in different color combo. We're using the Cajun Craze and the Crushed Curry. And then also the center is with the chocolate chip. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with the measurements. The base is the Cajun Craze, and this is cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Then you're gonna need another piece cut at 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And then a strip cut at 1 inch by 4 3/4. And then we're gonna cut the Very Vanilla. This piece is cut at 5 1/4 by 8, and then you're gonna score this at 4. So it's gonna make your little card in the front. And then this piece of Very Vanilla is cut at 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. All right, so let's grab our stamps. All right, so here's all my stamps I'm using today. And then we're using 3 colors, the Cajun Craze, chocolate chip, and the Crushed Curry. And I just re-inked the Crushed Curry and the Cajun Craze, so they're really, really dark. So it won't look like this. But we're going to stamp off the Cajun Craze, and I'll explain all that when we get to that part. But I'm going to use a piece of scrap or some grid paper. Okay, so we're just going to lay this down because I'm going to be stamping off to make this Cajun Craze just a tad bit lighter because it's a little bit too dark. All right, so let's bring in our Very Vanilla piece. Now, first I'm going to go ahead and add this strip, the 1 inch strip, to the front right here. So let me grab some snail. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and stamp first. I'm going to stamp the greeting, gather together and give thanks, with the chocolate chip. I'm going to stamp this right at the very bottom edge on the right hand side, right there. Then we're going to bring in this Cajun Craze strip, the 1 inch, a little bit more adhesive on that. And then this is going to serve as my guide for my sunflowers, where to stamp. Okay, right about there, looks good. Okay, so now let's start with the sunflower. So there's going to be a 3-step process to building our flower. So I'm going to start with the largest background of the flower. We're going to use the Crushed Curry for that layer first. I'm going to stamp it 3 times along the top. And then I'm also going to go ahead and stamp the inside while we're stamping. And then also stamp another one on another piece of Very Vanilla, but a scrap piece, so I can cut that out. Okay, so the Crushed Curry is done. Now, like I said, I just re-inked the Cajun Craze, so I'm going to stamp off. And that means I'm going to ink it up on my stamp, and then I'm going to stamp on the grid paper to lighten the shade of the Cajun Craze. And remember, on this stamp set, I'm using the center of the sunflower. There's a little bump out, and you'll see it on this stamp right here. And I'm going to line those images up by that way. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so now we're going to use the chocolate chip for the center of my sunflower. And the same thing, I can see the little bump out on the stamp. You probably can't see it very well on the camera, but I can see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp the center of all the flowers. Okay, so I'm going to also stamp this image, the little dots in the center of the sunflowers. I'm just going to stamp once full ink and then stamp again off a little bit for a lighter shade. Okay, and now we're going to stamp the greeting on the inside here. So this one says, "I'm thankful for you." And then I took on the finished card here, I just stamped the little dots randomly across the background so there's not so much vanilla showing. Okay, so let's put the chocolate chip away. Okay, so for this layer here, I'm going to add some linen thread. And I'm just going to flip it over and I'm going to add some adhesive on the back side. And just wrap this linen thread a few times around that Cajun Craze strip. Okay, I'm going to bring in our layers here. So this piece, this is the main part of the card. This is going to go on the front of this piece of the Cajun Craze. Okay, and then this piece is going to get layered onto this piece of the Cajun Craze. So beautiful. All right, now we're going to go ahead and layer this onto the front. Okay, so a couple more items. We're going to add the flower, and you want to hand cut this out, and to save some time I went ahead already and did that. And I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals, and I'm just positioning this right over top of that linen thread to kind of bring all those flowers together as a focal point right there. And then you're going to add some Wink of Stella. I'm just going to add the Wink of Stella to the petals of the sunflower. So pretty. Isn't that a beautiful card? Okay, so here's the other one. Now, even though I stamped off on this, you can still tell that it's a lot darker, right? So this is still beautiful, but it's just a little bit lighter. I needed to re-ink my ink pads. So that's kind of a sign when you know to re-ink your ink pads is when it's stamping really light. But it's still such a beautiful card. Okay, so I'll have all the items listed below, and then also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you later. Bye!